So now we're going to talk a little bit about international strategies. And international strategies have evolved quite a bit over time. If you go historically, when we talk about the mercantilist era, and I have some lectures on business history if you'd like to know more about that. You have export was an internationalization. Oops, okay. You have export. So basically one firm exported their goods produced within a country to another country, period. Then we have the internationalization. Internationalization occurred a lot during the 18th, from about the 18th to the 20th century. That's when you would have firms setting up their subsidiaries all over the world. And then starting in the 1960s, you had the global integration movement. And the global integration movement basically meant that we started deconstructing value chains and producing individual components of the value chains all over the world. So certain components were produced in the home country, other components were produced in other countries, and then they were all assembled potentially somewhere else, where it was the most efficient. Now, if you're interested in the ethical side of globalization, I do have a playlist on the ethics side, but in this video we're going to talk more about the strategy side. So there's some factors that can generally be seen to enable globalization. Of course, part of it is the technological piece. And think of it things like, I don't know, development of telecommunication facilities, decreased transportation costs. Of course, a lot of stuff can, with regards to information, can be easily transferred over the internet, and that has facilitated globalization. I mean, you think about 100 years ago, it was pretty hard to coordinate activities all across the world. You couldn't just pick up the phone and call somewhere. If you could, it was prohibitively expensive to do so. Okay. Now you can just pick up the phone, you can do FaceTime, you can do Skype, you can do it all. Transportation costs have decreased. I mean, you think about the stories of the American colonies where you had to get on a boat and it would take 2 months to get your goods from point A to point B. Now stuff can be flown. But then some things don't even need to be quote-unquote transported. Think of media, files, email. Okay? You don't have to send things through snail mail anymore. That has reduced your cost. Email is basically free. Then there's also political factors. We have been undergoing an era of trade and global liberalization, meaning that the regulations and barriers regarding the circulations of goods between countries is reducing. Think about the European Union where there's no borders at all. Capital is becoming more freely circulated between one bank and another. And of course there have been more creation of international institutions trying to make sure that international markets function efficiently. There's also social and cultural factors. Things like the fall of communism and more capitalist ideology has facilitated globalization. There has been convergence of consumers' needs. Unfortunately, everywhere you go in the world, there's just a little bit of America. So we all kind of act almost like American consumers. They call this the global village. Furthermore, even though you do see a global village, there is still kind of a lack of standardization. There are still some kinds of cultural differences, and there is still that piece that technological, commercial, and certain legal factors in some ways can favor local adaptation to an extent. And also there's no homogeneous integration among countries. The global networks of exchange have emerged, but there are some countries in certain areas of the world that still remain at the periphery. Furthermore, specialization at the country level can still result in unequal distribution of the benefits of globalization. So what we're going to talk about in the next video is kind of a tool for industry analysis of global integration, also known as the local responsiveness grid. Looking forward to seeing you then.